Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ginger Broderick, and I'm the host of the Ginger New York TV show. Welcome to M&N TV Studios here in New York City. We're taping at our new location on West 38th Street. Today, I have two guests in the music industry. One is David Gelman. He's a singer-songwriter, releasing his fourth album. And we have Tim Hatfield, who is his producer and songwriter for the album as well. So, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah,
You've been here once before. Thank you for bringing in Tim and Klein's husband. So thank you.
That's what I call him, Klein's husband.
I go to 30th Street Guitars. They say, "Oh, it's Mr. Ann Klein."
You were here once before with a band called White Collar Crime.
That is correct.
Yeah,
yes,
that was great. That was probably one of the last live shows that I did. It was my birthday party that day. We had a photographer. It was a big woo-woo.
That was a great day, yeah. I
was
remember the date.
What day was it?
February 28th, 2020.
Look at that.
Because, yeah, that was a leap year, and I remember it was the day before the leap year.
Well, thank you for helping me remember. So it's almost a 4-year anniversary.
Yeah. So,
wow. See, I didn't remember the date, so thanks for helping. We're 2 days off of that 4-year anniversary.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we're just kind of relaunching, you know, from that show, because the building got sold, we relocated, we had COVID, and now we're on the upswing. So thanks for coming and being my guest today and bringing
thank you so
in
much for having us.
your friend. Yeah. So you two have been friends for a very, very long time, I understand. We were talking before the show how you all met way back in the early, what is it?
2010-ish?
No, it was before that.
Oh, wait, White Collar Crime. Like maybe early 2000s?
Yeah, it was the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I remember the night, 2 nights before 9/11. I guess 9/09. Because I was with Matt that night. I remember, so, you know, at Steve Terry's birthday party or something.
Wow.
Just
I
so
remember, so it must have been before 2010.
Just so you know, so how Tim and I met was, I was in White Collar Crime, and we were doing recording. I did not know Tim, and we did a few albums with White Collar Crime at his studio. And that's how I met Tim.
Oh, okay.
So,
is this the studio that was downtown?
It's in...
No, that was the rehearsal space you were in.
Yeah, the rehearsal space, their rehearsal space was downtown, and that's where we met originally. But my studio is in Williamsburg. At the time, it's now in Greenpoint.
Oh, okay.
I have a studio called Cowboy Technical Services.
Very good.
So, that's where we did the last record, or most of it.
Yeah.
And we recorded upstate, or this one we did in, we did this one in Red Hook, right?
yeah, in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And this is your fourth album,
Correct.
right? So you started your first one, I understand, like in 2011. Your first 3 were in 2011 to 2019?
Yeah, the first 3. And,
Oh.
so what happened in the band, you know, Tim was great professional, and we had great experience recording with White Collar Crime.
Okay.
So as I was finding my own voice with my own music, I still was in the band, but I started to develop my own music. So since I knew Tim, so I asked if he were interested in producing the album. And so he said, you know, come over to my house and let me hear some of your stuff. So I don't know, I think I was auditioning for him at the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say auditioning, but
No, but he wanted to hear it. But and that's how we started, and it was a great experience, and we just did our fourth.
And now you're songwriting together. This album, you worked together.
In the last album, we had we did 3 songs on the last album we wrote together.
Okay.
Yeah.
The third album?
Yeah, so Tim and I, like, sometimes I'll just write the song myself, but a lot of times I'll hit a roadblock, or Tim will have a good idea, and we'll work on it together, and
I'm always interested on the songwriting process. Because some people can sit down and they say they can get it just like that, and then sometimes it simmers for 10 years before it comes through. What is your process for writing this song?
It's interesting. I think I have a tough time describing the process because there are some songwriters, the old days in the Brill Building, people would just go in every day and they would write songs every day. But for me, like, it would have to hit me. So once in a while, a song just comes out of the blue into my head, and I capture the music, and if I'm lucky, the lyrics come along pretty quickly too. Other times, I'll just start with a riff, or I'll just have a hook for the song, and then I have to sit back and think about what I want to write about. I've taken a lot of songwriting workshops in the 80s with some famous songwriters, but I would reach back and think about things that they taught me. But when I hit a wall, I go to Tim, and he's amazing.
So give me an example. I'm at a roadblock and I need help.
All right, okay, so
I have a writer's block, that's what it's called.
I hope this is interesting to the viewers watching.
Of course.
So I wrote the song Dusty Highway. So all I had was the opening verse, which was ride with me down the long, dusty highway. We'll travel together to where I've been, and let's sing a song that's long been forgotten. I'm longing to go back to my home again. And I thought, well, that's everything I needed to say. What else is there to say? I mean, I don't know. I always would like the verses or the later verses and choruses to have meaning, and I don't want to just repeat the same thing over and over again. So I was stuck on that for about 10 months. And I wanted to get back in the studio, and Tim is so talented. So I went to him and showed him the lyric. And I said, what do you think? And he said to me,
I liked it.
yeah, but then he said to me, well, did you ever take a friend back home where you grew up? Maybe you could take them back there and teach them a little bit about how you became who you are today by showing them, what it's like. I've taken people back to my old neighborhood in Queens, with my son and my current wife. I've gone back to the old neighborhood, and maybe that gives them a framework. Some of the songs I wrote by myself, and one of the songs was the song I co-wrote with Dana Fuchs. I put on the album. But most of the songs, I'd say, a little more than half, I would work with Tim, and a lot of times when I'd go to Tim, I'd be lyrically tied up and maybe musically tied up, and I would say to him, what do you think? And Tim always would come through, whether it was a lyrical idea or a musical idea.
So how do you come up with that brainchild of a song?
Well, it different each time. Like sometimes, like David was just saying earlier, like he comes and sings a verse, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is what this song could be about, and then I take it from there and just write. Sometimes I write more than just another verse. I might write 3 verses and go, well, this one's good. And I can finish it with that line,
Okay.
But that song, Dusty Highway, was pretty much like that, right?
Yeah.
But the chorus was a verse or something, and you took it and made it into the chorus, I think. It's something like, but it happens differently every time. There was another song we wrote. He just had this riff, and he sent it to me. And there was a song that I had written already, and it was kind of the same.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
But I was like, well, his riff is better than mine. Let me see. And he sent it to me, and was on the phone. I start listening to it, and all of a sudden, my lyric just started. It was like, oh, my lyric really works, and his riff is better than mine. So I think David should have the lyric. And I sent them to him, and he changed them a little bit for himself and make it easier to roll off his tongue. And
I listened to some songwriters. I think John Legend was telling the story on how he came up with an idea, or he was writing for a group, and when he finished the song, he's like, you know, I really want to keep this for myself. Do you have a situation like that?
No.
Or do you give whatever you're collaborating to
Well,
David, like for a particular project?
I have a project, like a pet project that I have with some really good friends of mine. It's called Black Diamond Jack, and that song was really supposed to be for them, for that project. But we're all so scattered that when it takes a while to get together. And I just thought, well, I'll give this lyric to David for his. I don't have an ego about it, you know, or anything. So it helped. It just hit, like I said, his riff was better than mine. So I was like, his riff serves the lyric
A
more than
symbiotic
mine.
relationship. That's great. Yep.
Well, look, so the song "Dusty Highway," which is the title track of the album, I came up with the opening verse, and it's "Ride with me down the long dusty highway, travel together to where I've been, and let's sing a song that's long been forgotten. I'm longing to go back to my home again." So that's all I had, and I know from taking these songwriting workshops in the 80s with some really well-known songwriters, there has to be a reason for each verse to be there, as opposed to repeating what you said with different words. And I was stuck. I didn't know what else to say. So I went to Tim, and Tim said, after listening to the opening verse, he said, you know, have you ever wanted to, do you ever bring somebody back to the old neighborhood so you could show them where you came from, and maybe they can understand a little bit about who you are today? And I thought, I don't know of a song that was written about that topic. And so I gave it to Tim, and the next day he called me back, and he had completed the entire lyric. So he took me to a place that I probably would not have gotten
And
to on
then
my own.
how do you put all the music together and arrange it for each of the instruments? How do you decide on something like that?
That's the real fun part. I think writing, when I write songs, it's always a little painful. I don't know. It doesn't come easy, but it always feels good when it's done. But so I'll go down to Tim's house, and his wife is there, Ann Klein, who's an amazing guitarist and mandolin player. And
And steel guitar, isn't it? Right?
She plays lap steel as well.
Lap steel.
so we literally listen, you know, I just play on the guitar or the piano, and we sit around and we talk about what direction we want to take the album in. What flavor is the album going to be? Is it going to be folk-oriented, or it's going to be a little more blues-oriented? And we talk about the instrumentation and everything from where we're going to record, typically Tim's studio. Once in a while, like Tim would say, you know, let's go to this other studio. Let's go upstate, and we'll just be up there for a week, and we'll just record, just immerse ourselves in the entire process.
Well, wonderful.
But as far as the instrumentation, it all comes down to you. And
Yeah, it's usually, it really like you just sort of go with your instincts. Like he's playing the song, and you all of a sudden you go, oh, well, this should have an electric guitar, or this will just be another acoustic guitar with it, or you know, I hear organ on this. But that song, Dusty Highway, David actually came in with that verse, and he was going, I hear this like with strings. I want to hear strings. So we got the string arranger and did a quartet for it. But he had that in mind already. And I know a lot of people, a lot of musicians here in town. So I just picked the ones I think are best for the project.
Very good. Well, I went to your opening at Bitter End, was it about a month ago? And I was just really, I don't want to say surprised, I was in awe of the collection of musicians that you had, the talent on the set. You had a violinist that was there who recently won a Grammy, I believe.
she did, like a week or two later, Lorenzo Bonds.
Yeah.
She's the one that did the string arrangements.
Oh,
too,
okay.
For us, too.
She tours with Bon Jovi. She's played with Neil Young.
Yeah.
She's played with Adele.
Oh,
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
oh, I mean,
And when I saw her on television, I thought that lady was in David's band.
yeah. You know, when I see these musicians come in at the sessions, I'm in awe of these musicians, and I feel like I better be good because I don't want to sound bad for them because you know everybody's played with great artists, and I feel
Yes.
like if I'm playing live, I don't want to.
And Anne Klein is your music director, right?
Yes.
And then Beth Sussman was on.
Beth, yeah, she's also.
Yeah, she's a pretty serious cat too.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you know her
Yeah.
background, right?
Yeah, she was Bette Midler's MD for years. I don't know, 12 years or something like that.
And Whitney Houston.
And Whitney
Ooh.
Houston, yeah.
Aretha Franklin.
Wow. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
She's an amazing player, really.
Yeah,
They're all.
Everybody was.
Everybody on that stage was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Well, it was you had a great turnout. It was just really fantastic. Congratulations.
you. Thank you
And
so much.
I sat at a different table than I normally do, and I met you.
That's my normal table. I
Matt
always
King
do.
was there too, and I was like, wow. He's the founder of White Collar Crime. Right?
Correct,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great little reunion.
Right.
And then I got to meet all your friends, and I was like, wow, I hit the lottery tonight.
Yeah, I
was
was
really
thrilled to
fun.
have you there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I enjoy supporting artists, and I give you a lot of credit. I'm glad to have this venue opportunity to profile you, because I think it's really important for people to learn about artistic process, because people like me, you go to financial school and you deal with numbers all the time, and it's like, how do you do it as as an artist full time? But see, you're a numbers person during the day too, right?
That is true. I still have a day job.
Yeah,
So,
and look what you're doing, as a side hobby, and then now after working with people, in their band, you stepped forward and started the songwriting process and creating your own work. It's really great.
Well, thank you. In the 1980s, I decided. Well, I was busy, starting my business and going to work, and I was a math and music major in college, so I always had to drive. When I was in college, playing college coffee houses and the wine and cheese bars, and I never really put the guitar down. In the early 1980s, I decided, well, maybe I could just be a songwriter and not have to go on tour and do what I need to do and try to write for other people. So I did take songwriting workshops with Lou Stallman, who just recently passed away about a year ago. He wrote Perry Como's Round and Round.
Wow.
And he sang, he wrote It's Gonna Take a Miracle and the Yankees theme. Anyway, I took a workshop with him,
Wow.
and he was a publisher too, so he would come in and say, I'm looking for a song for Dionne Warwick, I'm looking for a song for Joe Cocker. And I had met a really talented lyricist. So I was writing sometimes outside of myself. I was not finding my own voice with what I wanted to sing about, but it was a lot of fun. It was great. Also, I was invited into ASCAP, had a workshop with, now the name's going to escape me. Rupert Holmes. Yeah, I was invited in. That was like an honor to be invited in there, and that was a lot of fun. I met Jeffrey Osborne and Phoebe Snow. It was only like 25 of us, and he would bring a panel of industry people. So, and then the 90s, I kind of just played White Collar Crime, but it wasn't until like 2010 that I found my own voice to start writing
Good for
my
you.
own
He had
material.
other people recorded his songs though in the '80s. You had people in Nashville and Europe that were.
Yeah, that's
doing
true.
it.
I did have. I had a song. I think it went to like number 84 on the country charts called "You Touch
Fabulous.
Me Country," and it's so funny. I was pretty much done with that chapter of my life, and then I got a call from somebody from London who wanted a song, They wanted me to sign a publishing contract, and I was, a little unsure who this person was on the phone. And they wanted to know where to send the money to get the song off the ground. And it turned out to be some rock group in Europe that actually released it as their single off the album, and it sold in Japan and in England. I had no idea what happened. All I know is
You got royalties.
They sent me a check.
I had Alan Merrill here. He wrote the song I Love Rock and Roll, right?
Right.
And he's unfortunately passed away, from early COVID. And he said he actually made more money on the release of that song, not from Joan Jett, but from Britney Spears, who released it internationally.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we never heard it, her version of it. We never heard that here in the United States because it was released abroad. I was like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember my studio partner, he played on that Joan Jett version.
Oh, wow.
He was her original guitar player.
Was that Ricky Byrd?
No, it was for
Ricky.
his Roscoe. It's called Eric Campbell.
Okay.
So Ricky replaced Roscoe.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So and then he went on to be in the Del Lords. It was the New York band, that did well. So.
See, I was this real brainiac. I went to Queens. I went to St. John's University, became an accountant. I was all involved with all that. And fortunately, I lifted up my head and saw that there's another world here.
Listen, I grew up in Queens also. I remember telling my mother I'm going to the midnight show at the Fillmore East. I was like 16, 17. She's like, oh my God, that's such a terrible neighborhood. Second Avenue and 4th Street. There was no cell phone service. I'm like, it's okay, I won't be alone. And so the midnight show, starring 1971, I think it was Elton John.
Oh, my.
And I saw quite a few shows at the Fillmore East, so I don't like.
I've heard about that place. Some people have filled in the gaps for me of what they remember of that place.
Anybody who's watching is going to know I'm an old guy. If I told you, I also saw the Doors and Janis Joplin.
Isn't that incredible?
But,
Yeah.
that was a different
Yeah.
time.
Now it's a bank. That place is a bank. Yeah. So what are your plans this year? You've launched your record release, at the bitter end. Do you have any other shows coming up, or what are your plans for the album?
Well, I am paying, I should say that. I am working with Peter Hay. I'm also paying, but I'm working with Peter Hay from Twin Vision and Abby Sparks. They're both promotion people, and I'm happy to say that between the two of them, especially Peter and his team, he has got me on radio, like public radio and college radio stations.
Good for you.
I did chart like 150 on the AMA charts, so
Good for you.
but I was thrilled to see my name on that chart. And there's a roots music chart that on the alternative music charts, it actually reached number 10.
Good
so,
for you.
Anyway, so it's getting some airplay,
Right.
and
Now, if somebody wanted to cover your song, how do they go about doing that? I'm always a little confused on that publishing process. Do they hear the song and then they want to do their version of it and then they contact you to get permission? Is
yes,
that-
if like Tim and I co-own the publishing on the song,
Oh,
so we
okay,
write
fine.
together. So
Okay.
they have to come to us to get
You
permission.
both have to approve it.
As the publisher.
Okay.
But like when I was mentioning that song in the 80s that went overseas, we gave up the publishing on that.
Oh, okay.
So even if I want to record it, I would have to get their permission.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
So
Okay. Very good. It's always been interesting to me. I had someone here who was from Detroit, and she met one of the Motown writers, and she actually went down to D.C. to see about writings, and his name was lifted, and then when the copyright had to be replaced, it went back in, and that got removed. It was really incredible. But most people don't know that process, but she did, and she ended up getting a lot of money for that particular artist. And a lot of people in the law and entertainment were watching that case because, it was a really important case. Yeah, it was really
It's a
interesting.
common story in the 50s and 60s.
Yes,
Really
yeah.
talented people who just
Yeah.
lost
My
their lives in their
namesake, you
song.
know, Ginger from Gilligan's Island, they all got paid basically per session or whatever, and they never got royalties off of all of that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's sad.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dana Fuchs. You've
Yes.
written with her.
Yeah, she had asked me to join her writing group
Wonderful.
on not the most recent album, but the one before, Love Lives On.
Mm-hmm.
And I was honored that she asked me to come to her home. She used to come out, well, when she can, she comes out to my shows, and I always say my biggest fan is my wife, and my number 2 fan is Dana Fuchs. I don't know,
How
but,
fabulous.
but,
She's lovely.
yeah, she's great, and she invited me in, and it's funny because she said, write for me a Dusty Springfield in Memphis album. I'm like, what is that? She goes, it's an album from Dusty Springfield. So I remember listening to the album for an entire week on my on Spotify, and I went to her home and I had a song,
wonderful.
and her team put in the bridge, she put in the lyrics,
Oh, how
and I
fabulous.
was thrilled she put it on her
Oh,
album.
yeah. Wonderful. I tried to see her for many, many years, and then there was always interruptions on something, mostly because she was having a baby,
Yeah.
or she had a baby and whatever, and then and it's like, and then I couldn't get there, and whatever. So finally, after like 5 or 6 years of trying, I finally got to see her perform, and she's really dynamic.
She's
Yeah.
an amazing talent.
She's
And-
got great stage presence.
Doesn't she? Yeah.
Well, Tim, you produced a whole bunch of our albums.
Oh, did you really?
I had worked on a couple of them. I guess 3 and then a live record or something like that. So,
How fabulous.
And-
And then, did I read in your bio that you were a guitarist for Broadway?
no, that's Anne.
Oh, that's Anne.
She's
She's the one that works on Kiki Boots? She worked on Kiki
well,
Boots?
she did. She was a sub on Kinky Boots, but
okay.
she's done more like there was Almost Famous that was on last year. She was in with that from the beginning of it, and what was that other Head Over Heels, which was music of the Go-Go's. That was another one of her chairs. and-
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So, but she still does things. She's right now she's doing. She's got a pet project that she's starting. It's called the Manhattan. What is it? The Marvelous Mandolins of Manhattan.
Oh, wow. Oh, fun.
And so it's going to be like 6 mandolins, and mandola, and mandocello, and they're gonna do it down at the bitter end. They got a gig, but it's something she's just really,
Is it okay to air this story?
I guess.
Oh, okay.
Well, just about a month ago, she was on the house band over at Town Hall. She played with Graham Nash and Judy Collins.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, and then
yeah. I
John
remember
Lennon.
that, yeah.
Yes.
John Lennon tribute. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or,
remember that. I know her from Rich Picano's fundraiser last year, and
Right.
I saw this woman, a very strong presence, and then when she brought out that lap guitar, I was like, oh my God, so this woman's somebody. And that's what I posted on my Facebook. I don't know who she is, but
Oh,
she was really great. And then you wrote in that she was your friend.
Yeah, well, it's great talent. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I shared that post. I remember it. So I was like, that's my wife.
Take my wife, please. No, you didn't say that.
That's great.
Yeah, that was a great picture you took, actually.
Thank you. Yeah.
So.
We can kind of get a peek of what happened at the bitter end.
Okay. There's a place that I call home. It beckons when I'm all alone, and when I'm lost, it calls to me. Come home like a river to the sea.
There's a time for us to heal, and a time to reveal all the love we hold every day, and we hold on tight before it slips away.
Let it shine, oh, on me. Oh, let it shine on me. One thing I know, deep in my soul, I know the light's gonna shine on me. Well, I wanna go see my mother and my father once again. Tell them both the words I didn't say when I had the chance way back when. Let it shine, oh, on me. Oh, let it shine on me. One thing I know, deep in my soul, I know the light's gonna shine on me. Let it shine, oh, on me. Whoa, let it shine on me. One thing I know, deep in my soul, I know the light's gonna shine on me. Just let the light, let it shine on me. Thought I had everything under control. Life was a party, a Sunday park stroll. Weight on my shoulders grew heavy on my back, and the pleasures I tasted ran me off of my track. And now I'm stuck on Broadway. Reaching for the spotlight from the shadows of night, watching the future disappear from my sight. I can't point a finger, only me to blame. I changed, and now I'm stuck, stuck on Broadway. If I could choose, I'd leave it today, far from the lights. Oh, that pull me away. I feel like I'm running, but I'm running in place. Now I'm stuck, I'm stuck on Broadway. Well, if I could choose, I'd leave it today, far from the lights. Oh, that pull me away. I feel like I'm running, but I'm running in place. Now I'm stuck, stuck on Broadway, out on Bleecker Street, and I'm also stuck on Broadway.
Yay!
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I can almost hear that in a country way too, as a country song.
Yeah.
You know, I really could hear that.
It's
But
so
I guess maybe I've been listening to too much Taylor Swift lately.
It's so strange that
So
my
is the
stuff
rest of the world.
has fallen into like country folk, which is really strange
Yeah.
because it's not the music I grew up on.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I don't know if it has anything to do with he's from Texarkana originally, so I don't know what.
Texas, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Oh.
maybe
Well, I can hear.
But-
See, I'm from the
So-
Midwest where we heard a lot of, it was more what I call old country. you know.
Yes, I grew up on a lot of. Well, I guess it was what I grew up on was outlaw country. You know, that's basically it, I guess. And between that and British rock. you know.
Oh, mhm.
So, and classical music. But yeah, that song, it came about like David had that title
I
for
really
a long
enjoyed
time,
it. Hmm.
and I kept saying, "No, no, you got to do that. You got to do that."
Yeah.
Now finally, I just one day, he said, "Okay, go ahead, see what you want to do," and I wrote the lyrics up on the roof, you know.
it's funny. We did have one discussion like where are we going to take this song. So
Yeah.
you know, I had that riff I'm like stuck on Broadway. I just had that. I knew that was going to be the hook of the song. That I didn't want to change that. But where do I go from there? I mean, I think about the Carole King song. You know, they say the neon lights are bright on Broadway.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
somebody who's sticking around, who's they're not going anywhere until they make it, right? But
Yeah.
that's been done, and
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to top that song.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Well, you know
such
what
a great
also I'm
song.
thinking, yes, and you know, I'm thinking of Tracy Chapman. You know, did you watch the Grammys this
Oh, my
year?
God.
With
Yeah, it was great.
You know, and here's where, you know, her song was taken into a country flavor and the guy just blew it up
Right.
again. Yeah.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
But I went to Tim. I said, so we were talking about it. So let's make it kind of like somebody who's strung out on Broadway. This is somebody who's made it, who now is on the other side.
You mean
Which you know, it's, I know it
Like
sounds
all
kind
of us New Yorkers that are stuck here.
no, just you know, famous people who get
Uh-huh.
you know, like fame is actually kind of wrecked them in a way. Like they can't handle the pressure. But
Oh, yeah.
that's not an uncommon song. But I wouldn't say it's a happy song, but anyway.
That's a nice group.
Yeah, it does.
But you
It
can
really
dance to it.
does.
You know, I give it a
I-
78.
So-
I'm dating myself. That's American Bandstand.
Dating yourself again.
I grew up on American Bandstand. I know that stuff. That was really great. Anything? Well, you know, I'd like to know where people can find you, where listen to your music.
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, it's on Spotify. I'm happy to say I looked the other day, I had 400,000 streams. So anyway, somebody's listening, which makes me
Good
happy.
for you.
I'm on Apple and Amazon, YouTube. And I do play, you know, open mics up in Harlem.
I really enjoyed your show at the Bitter End. I mean, just stellar musicians that you had with you, you know, in your backup band. Who were they in your band? Bess Sussman was one.
Right,
And
so-
Ann Klein.
Right, and then it was Rodney Howard on drums.
Okay.
He happens to be on Broadway right now, playing in Back to the Future. He's,
Oh, wow, I'm going to see that show soon.
you should stop by and say hello.
Oh, I'd love to go backstage. Can you hook me up?
He knows Tim really well.
Okay.
So. And Steve Count on bass, who's been like a rock. He's been with me, he and Ann, through every album and everything. He's been the bass player in the studio. And of course, Lorenzo Ponce. And then Susan Hochstein, who came up and sang 2 songs with me. She runs the, they call it the Conclave. So you could see her stuff on Facebook. But
Fabulous.
so I do.
What a great
Get
group.
there,
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
great party.
It was great. I mean, I
I
almost
sit in
have
the
to-
back watching everything, and I was like, wow, this is cool.
almost have to pinch myself, you know, like to
Yeah.
be playing with, you know, this caliber of musicians. So I feel blessed is the word I use.
Yeah. Do you ever clock the hours that go into
Yeah,
something like that?
it's a lot. I mean, prepping the album and going to the studio and, you know, putting in parts and mixing and mastering. Then the artwork that was done by Randy Hines, the artwork on the album. Yeah, it's a long road from
The
start to
creative
finish.
process, and then you got to get into the business process, you know, the publishing,
Right.
and then the promotion and the marketing, and
Right.
yeah.
One thing about the creative process, you can't think about it in terms of the hours. Because it's just, there's so many, and you can't say, oh, it's only going to take 3 hours. Or when people go into the studio, it's only going to take an hour. You know, nothing gets done in an hour. You know? But, you know, so you just can't think about it in an hourly way. It depends on how you feel about what you're doing, too. Like, yeah, I feel like on this I had a lot of stake in it, you know, big stake in the writing process and everything. So I would you dedicate as much time as you need.
Got
You
it,
know?
Very good.
I do want to tell Tim is amazing. Like, he's taken my music far beyond anything I could have ever imagined.
How fabulous
And
is that?
like, if it weren't for Tim, you know, I would go into a studio and ask the studio if they know musicians and all that. But he's been around the block. He's come up in studios in Manhattan for decades, and you know, he really labors over these songs. You know, the mixes, you know, sometimes will take days and constantly tinkering around, and he'll try different mixes, and he wants to get it as perfect as possible. I mean, I can't imagine my music sounding half as good without Tim. So my hats off
Fabulous.
to him, and also I should say for all of you people who live with songwriters, I don't know how people are, like my poor wife has to hear these songs 1,000 times. I'm writing it, I play it for her, and and then
And then it changes.
and then you know, all the rough drafts of the song coming on with the partial, you know, recordings. And anyway, she's a good supporter. So
That's great.
but
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining
Oh,
in this
thank you.
afternoon, right?
Yeah, thank
Tim,
you.
for coming along for the ride.
it's yeah, it's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, great, great.
So,
Well,
thanks.
thank you everyone for joining in this afternoon show of Ginger New York. We're here every Friday afternoon at 2 p.m., so thanks a lot for joining in. My guests today, David Gelman and Tim Hatfield. So check out their music on Spotify. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.